Okay, welcome aboard, everybody. My name is Doobyis. This is an offshoot of After the Smoke is Clear that I like to call Fly in Formation, where I take, every opportunity that I can to talk to my favorite artists across the country and, help kind of spread the word for whatever albums they have coming out. Even just kind of try to shine some more light on the individual different scenes of hip hop across the country, because I feel like they're pretty separated still, and that's something that we're working on as a national community. I think is kind of just uniting the scene from coast to coast a little bit more. So, without further ado, let me get us both on screen here. Okay. So yeah, welcome aboard, Azrael. Thanks for joining me, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. My pleasure. So this is the first interview, that I've done for the new season of Fly Information. So, I'm looking forward to getting to talk to you and all the other artists across the country that I'm starting to line up here. But dude, you guys sent over, and shouts to Handsolo Records, because it was Thomas who sent it over. But I got to listen to the entire new album that you're dropping on, I think, the 21st, right?
Yep, 21st.
Yeah, right. So April 21st, your new album Content is coming out. It'll be on streaming and everywhere else that people can pick it up. Probably Bandcamp over at the Handsolo Records Bandcamp, I would imagine. Yeah, people should definitely support that. The album is super dope. I just want to give you props on putting that together. And, I guess maybe I'll let you start things off. Just can you give us like a bit of a pitch on what the album is like? Like what type of album have you put together?
Thank you for checking it out, man. I appreciate you peeping it from start to finish. It was a lot of fun to make. It actually, I started writing for this album from the beat pack that I got from Dirty Sample, kind of like, I don't want to say at the start of COVID, but a few months into COVID. So there was a lot of uncertainties going on. I had a lot of things to say. And yeah, it was just kind of a weird time. So we put it took a little bit longer to write the tracks than I kind of wanted to. But in the end, it all ended up getting done.
I was a little bit surprised, actually, because like I looked, on Spotify, and your last album was from 2020, I think, like before pandemic. So
yeah.
So this kept you busy the entire pandemic putting this together?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I working on lots of things here and there. And then, it takes a while to put them out. But this was the main thing that I was working on throughout the pandemic. And yeah, just kind of like wanting to make sure that I that I was really happy with the product, and that I wouldn't go back and reflect on things and be like, oh, I want to do this again. I want to do that again. So there was actually a couple songs on that project that I had to rewrite. I had to kind of like reflect on and be like, no, I want to spit this a different way, or no, I don't want to rap about that.
So was
and
it like
kind of just rewrite the thing?
Was it full rewrites on the songs you wanted to do that for, or was it more just kind of like tweaking bars here and there, change in delivery type deal? Like,
honestly, on most of them, it was changing the bars, changing the delivery. And on a couple of the songs, it was just completely take off the whole song. I'm going to rewrite something new. And yeah, just completely forget about the first song that I did.
dope, man. Yeah, there's a track on the album called Inner Critic where you kind of talk about perfectionism and self doubts and the struggle of just being an artist, and what should you put out, what shouldn't you put out, kind of deal. And
exactly.
you really break it down on that one. I like that track, man. To me, it's always felt like there are kind of like two schools of thought on that artists seem to have, and it's like some guys think that like perfectionism is like the enemy of completion, of getting anything out to the world. If you're obsessed with getting everything perfect, a lot of guys kind of shoot themselves in the foot and keep a lot of songs just vaulted up forever because they want it to be so perfect. And then there's the other school of thought that's just kind of like, you know what, I'm going to grow and advance throughout, and I'm just putting out music as fast as I can, kind of deal, right? So from what you just said, I'm guessing you're kind of in the first camp where at this stage in your career anyways, you're trying to really nail down and get things to a point where you're not going to want to go back and change them afterwards, eh?
Yeah, 100%. And you hit the nail on the head there with saying at this point in my, quote unquote career, because for like the first, X amount of
Career,
years, it was
yeah.
never exactly.
Yeah.
It was never like that. It was always like, boom, I got bar 1 to 16. Let's go in the booth, spit it. I don't care about changing anything after. Like, and it was a lot more kind of just, I don't want to say going with the flow. It was just kind of like being completely certain that, like I'm good with the way this sounds. I don't need to change anything. I'm completely fine with this. And then now it's kind of evolutionized into a point now where I'm kind of, I want to focus more on how I'm heard, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Kind of,
I mean, man, you can tell every word you're saying on that album. You're, probably one of the MCs who I would point to if people want kind of clarity in lyrics and to be able to hang on to every word that you're saying. Like some guys get, rapping too quick for people to keep up or whatever. Your stuff is just really poignant and well put together to a point where the slow flow is just nice enough that people can hang on every word, every bar. The entire album, man, just has like quotable bars start to back.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
dude.
appreciate that.
I was really impressed by it, honestly, man. Like the first 3 singles that you've dropped on it, I played all those as soon as they came out. Probably Gold was my favorite of those ones.
Thanks. Me too.
But yeah, man, I mean, dude, there's 5 or 6 tracks that I had to kind of choose between. Like, what am I gonna leak out here on ATSIC from Monday or whatever? But I chose the one with Touch on it,
Nice.
the title track, Content, and like I wanted to ask, like, you've been around the hip hop scene for a long time, so I'm just assuming that you've known Touch and the Dirty Sample for a long time as well. But like, how did the relationship, more specifically with the Dirty Sample, kind of start? Like, where did you guys meet?
So the first time I remember meeting the Dirty Sample was when he was calling himself Planet, when he was going by Planet rather.
Yep.
And we did a show with him. I think it was me and Chatio. We were doing a BC Alberta tour on the Greyhound. So we were riding the Greyhounds throughout all these places back when Greyhound existed, obviously.
Yeah, word. With like Imagination's Tree Trunk, right? Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. So we played a show in Calgary with him at the Amsterdam Rhino long time ago. And that's where I first remember meeting him.
Dope, man.
And we played that show. I think we might have done, something else between then and when he moved to Vancouver. But when he moved to Vancouver is kind of when I got to know him a little bit better. And he was making a lot of tracks with the homies, Fat Matt,
Right.
Kaboom, Device. So yeah, he was just kind of like, he was part of the crew. He was part of the scene. And yeah, we just got down a few times on a couple tracks. I think I'm on the Port Authority album that he produced.
Right. Yeah, I was trying to think of the name of that album. That, yeah, Port Authority. That's right. That was the name of his crew out there. Yeah. Super dope, man. So, like, you've toured coast to coast. You've been around for a while in the Canadian hip hop scene. There's a line on Gold where you say, "My memories are even more important than my dreams." It made me want to ask you, like, what's your favorite rap memory, man? Do you have a favorite hip hop memory off the top of your head?
Oh, one of them. It's not it's not a singular thing. It was just kind of like an entire trip. In 2014, we did a tour from BC, from Vancouver all the way to Montreal, which is a long drive,
Yeah.
any time of the year. But we did it in February when it was the coldest it could have been. And we are just these, like, all 3 of us. It was me and Anonymous and my homie Ink Spill. And we're just completely naive West Coasters, right? And we're coming in with like just jeans and like low top Pumas, and we're just completely unprepared for the weather that was that we were going to be facing.
Yeah.
And yeah, the tour, there were some highs, there were some lows, you know, cool heads all prevailed and everything was good. But there were so many things that happened on that tour that are going to stay with me forever, and that I just hold dear, memories that I hold dear.
Did you drop the year on that? Around what year would that have been?
Oh, that was 2014.
2014. Okay, so was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that
Actually,
was?
I might as well spill some beans here.
Yeah, do it.
So what happened was we got done all the shows. We're leaving Montreal. We get out of Quebec and we get into Ontario. Now we're supposed to be making it to Thunder Bay, and we don't actually make it to Thunder Bay. We make it to the U.S. border, and it's too late to turn around at this time. And we have, we got some stuff in the vehicle.
Tour supplies.
Before, stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
This was before any sort of the tour stuff, or sorry, any of that stuff was legalized.
Right.
So it was a big deal to have on. Long story short, we got out of it okay, but it was very, very, very hairy in the moment.
That sounds sketchy as hell. So did you get turned around before you actually pulled up to customs or whatever? Like, you got out of the lineup?
With us. They fucked with us on the US. We couldn't turn around because this was one of these border crossings in the middle of nowhere. So you couldn't just turn around and take off.
They'd see you, yeah.
Exactly. So
yikes.
Yeah, they made examples out of us.
Dude, so yeah, man, this entire album it's called Content, which, I think is kind of being used in several different ways from what I could gather listening to the album, but it's definitely one of those ways is talking about how artists these days in 2023 are supposed to be putting out all this content, right? We're constantly being told you've got to be visible at all times, go on the social media platforms as often as possible, be as engaged with your audience as possible, all these things. The first intro, like the first track on the album, is kind of like, it's called Doom Scroll, and you can hear as you're scrolling through whatever on Instagram or whatever. It made me wonder, like, are you active on social media very often? Because I know you don't have a Twitter account. I see you on Instagram, but it made me want to ask, like, what's your relationship with social media like these days?
I try to stay away from it, but I mean, you can only try so much, right? I'm on Instagram, I'm on Reddit all the time. That's kind of like my social media.
Nice.
And a little bit of Facebook here and there, but I try not to go on TikTok, Twitter. I just want to stay away from those things because I know how addictive they can be, and I see, people that are close to me on them all the time, and how time consuming it could be. So
yeah, I
have enough of my time consumed already with Instagram and Reddit. It's like I don't need any more social media taking up my time.
Yeah, man. So basically, what I got anyway listening to the album was kind of a statement that, like, the content is the music. Get this motherfucking content, like this. Exactly. This is the content I want to give you. And I applaud that, man. I think that's a good way to be. But also, I applaud you coming through to, give the people some content here on Fly in Formation as well. So,
oh yeah,
yeah. I think there are ways for artists to be engaged that can still be genuine, right? Like, this is just two guys talking, and it doesn't feel quite as fake as, like, some of the promotional posts you see people make where they're just promoting themselves and there's no real substance to it. Their entire account is just full of, like, check out my new song or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. You could smell it from a mile away too. When somebody's kind of like putting that, being forth, or what I mean? You could smell it from a mile away. It's inauthentic.
Hell yeah, man. With the music I try to pick for ATSIC, like, that's something that I try to shy away from, is guys that I can tell are not really in it for the art, that are really about that promotional side of things, trying to do it as, like, a way to get numbers more than, like, a way to spread a message or anything like that, you know. It yeah, I like to ask every artist I talk to, man, like what motivates you to rap, because I didn't get the impression that you're, you know, too overly concerned with checking the boxes of how to make a pop hit, you know what I mean, like of how to make the song that crosses over, right?
Yeah.
So what is the motivation?
Well, nowadays, nowadays, well, I say nowadays, but honestly, the past years, it's always been about the same thing for me. And that's to add to my discography.
Word.
I don't know if I'm ever going to stop rapping because I mean, I tried to stop rapping. I was fed up with it a while back and I quit, or I took a hiatus for a couple of years and I came back because it just didn't feel right to not write down my thoughts and not, you know, spit them on a mic or whatever. So, yeah, it's always been about adding to a discography and just trying to like build as deep of a discography as I can. I look to a guy like Mocha Only, who is like a huge inspiration for me. Yeah. And the guy just puts out music, all the time, year round. And to me, that I think that is like, that to me is what true artistic integrity is.
Agreed completely, man. Mocha is a legend. Props to Mocha Only and his amazing output over the years. Like, dude, he's done a Christmas album for like 20 years in a row or something. Like, yeah. I'm making up numbers, but it's a lot of years. I don't know. But
yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, dude. So, you know, having that kind of like, do you look at it like an audio journal? Like what you were saying, you know, that line about memories or whatever being important. I know for me, when I'm writing raps, like I'll listen to stuff I rapped 10 years ago or whatever, and it'll take me back to thoughts that I had then and, you know, the situation I was in then or whatever. So I've always looked at it as kind of an audio journal, honestly. But,
that's, you know, a good way to put it.
Yeah, man, what you said about kind of falling back from it, I can relate to that too, because there was a point where I just kind of thought, like, who am I trying to impress with this music, right? Like, what am I out here doing? And that just kind of led me to really, like, when I got offered to do ATSIC, I was like, this is what I really want to do. I just want to share all the music I like with people. I want to try to spread as much good music as I can with people. It's less about trying to be a star or trying to, you know, blow up or whatever. And it just started feeling kind of fake. So I can definitely relate to what you were saying about falling back and then kind of coming back to it and just doing it genuinely. And I could hear that in your music too, man.
It was really needed too, because, you know, what I was writing, my output at that time, it wasn't like positive, I guess you can say. Right. It was just kind of like ruminating on thoughts and stuff like that. And, you know, when I took time away from it and came back to it, it's very refreshing and just kind of cleanses the brain, if you will.
Hell yeah, man. On Downvoted, which is another track on Content, you say, I don't give a shit about being number one. I don't know what the rest of the bar was, but I wrote that down as a note. And, you know, it's pretty rare for people to have that outlook in hip hop, because everybody looks at it like this competitive thing where everybody's trying to fight to the top or whatever. So it's rare to hear people express that. But if that's not the goal, I mean, do you try, like, how actively are you pursuing a wider audience at this point? Is it just making music and whoever likes it's gonna like it, or how much effort do you put into the promo side of things to try to reach an audience?
I'm gonna be honest, not a ton. Yeah, not a ton. That's why I'm so happy to link up with Thomas and Dirty Sample for this album, and I'm super thankful and grateful for all the help that he's given so far with, you know, Handsolo and me being a part of this project with Handsolo.
Word.
Because that's really like my weak suit. I think I'm really dope at rapping, but I know that I'm not good at the promoting side, and I've never been good at the promoting side. It's just not something that that I really have gained traction with over the years. So it's like when I say that line, like, I don't give a shit about being number one, I'm not kind of like throwing in the towel and being like, okay, well, I'll just put this out and whatever happens, happens. It's kind of like, I know I'm dope, and I know I'm dope to the people around me.
Yeah.
And if other people aren't picking up on that, or if my message is not reaching a larger audience, like, I don't give a shit.
Hell yeah, man. The rappers I like most are rapping for their peers. I feel like a lot of the time, you know, that because I think it's KRS-One that I'm going to quote when I say that, like, people outside of hip hop culture don't really know what dope is. They'll have preferences or whatever, but for a large portion of it, they're kind of just into whatever they're told to be into, whatever's popping then. And so, like, you know, I think it's a healthier outlook to try to rap for rappers. Like, even ATSIC, it's a rap show for rappers. I'm making this show hoping that guys will listen to it and be like, oh, there's this guy from Montreal who makes dope beats. I should go buy some of those or whatever, right? Like, trying to just showcase the talent across the country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. And along those lines, something that I like to ask everybody that I'm talking to on Fly in Formation is, can you, well, so it's kind of a two-part thing, but can you describe the hip-hop scene? You're in Vancouver, right? That's your local scene?
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
So can you describe the Vancouver hip-hop scene? And then beyond that, can you mention maybe a few artists who you think people might not be up on from the Vancouver scene that, you know, that you think they should be up on? Because to me, that's a big part of this, is spreading love and showcasing the scene as well, you know?
Sorry, the first part of the question was kind of like my thoughts on the current state of the scene.
Yeah, just tell us what it's like being part of the hip hop scene in Vancouver, specifically like out on the West Coast. Because, you know, I talk to different guys, a lot of guys in Toronto or whatever, and so I just always like to ask, like, you know, from somebody inside the scene, what would you say the Vancouver hip hop scene is like?
Personally, for me, I feel like nowadays I kind of have one foot in, one foot out. So like my thoughts are kind of based on that, kind of having one foot in, one foot out.
Sure.
But I'd say Vancouver is a great city, man, for hip hop talent. I think we have a ton of hip hop talent here. A lot of people doing a lot of things. But something that you touched on, I think in the intro, was kind of the lack of cohesion within the country.
Yeah.
As far as like the hip hop scene goes, it's the same thing in Vancouver. And also I feel like there might be a little bit of and this is probably going on in every city, a bit of divide, I guess, from the older heads, from the younger heads.
Right.
So,
that's another gap that I try to bridge, man. Like, I'll play, you know, different episodes. It'll be like, I'll do a trap episode. I try not to go back and forth from, like, you know, trap and drill to boom bap or whatever in the same episode. But definitely try to represent all of the parts of it, because to me, it's all dope. There's dope lyricists making trap music. There's dope lyricists, you know, still making classic era boom bap sound stuff like yourself, right? So I find joy in it all. I respect it all and like to play it all. So you know, I appreciate you for saying that there's the divide between the ages, because I think that's something that needs to be worked on. And you know, to quote KRS-One again, shit, he was on Instagram just a while ago. I saw him in a video talking about, he was talking to some little kid, and he said to her that you know, when kids learn from adults, they move better, they move quicker amongst their young peers, and vice versa. When adults learn from kids, they're going to move better and quicker around their adult peers, because they're picking up, you know, tips from the modern era or whatever from the kids. So I think it's important to kind of pay a bit of attention to both sides there. I guess. So
I saw that too. I thought he was speaking. I thought he was spitting facts.
Yeah, super on point. That man drops gems. But yeah, are there any artists out there that you think people might be sleeping on, or, I mean, even you know, that we might be able to get into some more people's ears who just might not know of them?
One dude that would be at the top of that list for me is a young dude. His name's Rosmo. Rosmo is a really dope rapper. Um, he's a younger dude, so maybe some of the older heads might not know him, but Rosmo is definitely somebody to look out for.
Yeah, I co-sign that. I play Rosmo sometimes on ATSIC as well, for sure. Uh, so another thing I like to ask everybody I talk to, man, is with the current state of music, what's the best way for a fan to show their support? Because, like, you know, I know personally that streams aren't paying anybody much. It takes 6 streams to make a penny in Canada, last I looked. Um, so yeah, I'll just leave it open ended at that. What's the best way for music fans to show love to independent artists?
100%. Bandcamp. Bandcamp is our friend, especially on Bandcamp Friday when they don't take any fees and it all goes straight to the artist.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people don't care so much nowadays about owning the music and would prefer to stream it.
Yeah.
But as you just described, it really doesn't do anything for the artist. Unless you're, getting high numbers.
Yeah, no, I harp on that all the time, that people should be buying music, even if it's, 99 cents on a digital single or whatever. Like, it still is enough to make a difference to independent artists. They're still going to notice that. And whether it's, enough to pay the light bill is another question, but it's at least some sort of incentive to continue making the music. I mean, stream numbers are nice and all. But yeah, I always encourage people, go buy the music. And like you said, Bandcamp is the way to do it. They take the smallest cut.
Exactly. And even if like somebody buys a 99-cent single, like they might not think that that's helping the artist out. That might, I mean, it's $1, whatever, right? But when you see that somebody bought your single, and even if they paid $1 for it, like that puts a little bit of a fire in your belly as an artist.
Yeah, totally.
You're like, shit, somebody's out here checking for my shit, buying my shit.
Well, and the whole thing, like, it's only $1 from both sides of the equation too, right? Like, so from the fan side or whatever, from people supporting music, it's only $1. You're gonna go to Starbucks and buy a coffee for $6, so exactly. Show love to the artist too. Yeah. Can I ask you personally, do you buy music? That's another thing. I put artists on the spot. I'm like, what about you? Are you out there supporting people?
I do. I got my Bandcamp account, and I try to buy stuff pretty frequently.
Hell yeah. Nice, man. Yeah. What else do I like to ask people? I got a list of questions here. So here's one for you. You normally are dropping albums. A lot of people seem to be looking at it as though we're in single era now, right? Where it's like, drop a string of singles and see what hits. I've heard artists say, like, I'm going to do singles until they're getting numbers and then I'll do an album. Have you ever thought about just dropping singles instead of albums? Like, Content is a very cohesive project, so I can see that it was definitely something that was made to be, listened to from start to finish, which I like. I came up listening to albums, so I enjoy albums still, but do you ever drop singles? Just loose singles?
I think 2 years ago, I did a collab with Jacob Evolved and Scythe, and that came out as a single, and we did a video for it. But other than that, no, I don't really do singles. I see how effective they are, and they do get numbers, they do garner attention, and it does make complete sense to do it. And I'm not harping on anybody that does it, but for me personally, I'm absolutely in love. I'm infatuated with crafting an album. And just like yourself, like I grew up listening to albums, from start to finish.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of crafting an album, making a song and being like, oh, this is good in the number 6 spot. This is good in the number 10 spot. And definitely, just, things like that. And Content was made in that same vein too, where, you could tell it's very cohesive. And if you listen to any of my other, solo stuff before, Pocket Watch, the album I did with Scythe, Mad Happy with Nate Evans. Those all have the same kind of sound where they all sound very cohesive together. Like just trying to craft one particular album in its own space, sort of.
Yeah, man, and I appreciate that there are still artists like yourself doing that. That right there is actually, one reason that I do the ATSIC mixes too is because then I can take a bunch of singles, put them into something that feels a little bit more cohesive that you can play back to back for an hour, and take to the gym or take on a jog or whatever, take on commute. Because yeah, I miss albums like that. So I applaud you for putting together albums that actually feel and sound like albums like that, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. I also wanted to ask. I ask everybody, what did the recording sessions go like for this? Like, are you home recording? Are you in studio? Where'd you record?
So I had a mini little setup in my room where I recorded all this stuff. So yeah, I just recorded myself. I think I did it song by song, and yeah, I just knocked it out in my room by myself.
Nice, man. How about shows? Are you going on tour or anything with this? Got any of that planned?
Not yet.
Tentatively?
Not yet. I would love to do a little Western Canadian thing. I mean, financially, Western Canada is probably where it would make the most sense right now.
Weird.
So I would love to do something like that, but there's been no talks of doing any shows out of province yet.
Okay. Are you doing shows like locally though? Have you been performing this material yet?
I've been doing shows lately, but I haven't been doing this material.
Okay.
I've been maybe three. I think I want to say I've done about 3 shows in the last couple months, 2 or 3 months.
Cool. Do you get more enjoyment from being on stage or from making the music? Like, are you having more fun in the studio or more fun on stage?
Oh man, that's like what's better, Rocky Road ice cream or like peanut butter ice cream? I don't know. They're both incredibly fulfilling and make me a happy guy.
Nice. I don't think all artists feel like that. I've gotten different answers when I ask people that one. So.
Oh really?
Yeah, but that's fine. Be in both lanes, man.
I would say no. Okay, I would say in the studio, crafting the track, whether it's writing in the studio or just going there with the verse to drop it. Yeah. That is probably like my funnest thing that I could think of. Being on stage is great and everything, but sometimes, before the show, there's a little bit of anxiety that comes with it. So sure. That's why I have to rule the studio experience as number one.
Dope. I like it. How about, you got any tips for the youth who are trying to make it in hip hop right now? Coming up? Could even be like, tips for writing or whatever, man. Just anything you got to offer for them.
I get in today's climate, just stay consistent. Consistency. Because if you're doing it consistently, people are going to notice. And and there's nothing wrong with, being inspired, 1 month and then not inspired the next month. But consistency I find is the way that you're going to get noticed by most people.
Weird. You mentioned a producer who I'm sort of familiar with. I mean, we've never talked, but I recognize the name, Scythe. And I didn't realize that you guys had worked together. I became familiar with Scythe from like releases he's put out with like Switch and I don't know, some artists over the last couple of years maybe. But can you tell me who Scythe is? What's Scythe's history? Do you go back?
Yeah. So him and I go way back. Scythe is my boy.
Good. Then I'm asking the right person. Good.
Word. So back like when Imagination's Tree Trunk kind of disbanded or whatever is right around the time when I met Scythe and started hanging out with them. And it was actually a perfect, jump because him and I started working on an album together, which ended up being Pocket Watch, which I think was released in 2010. And yeah, making that album was just such a great experience, and we got to know each other more. And then I met more of the Illegitimate Crew,
Right.
Anonymous, Copacetic, Nicky Scarfo, those guys, and then I ended up joining the crew, and we've been boys ever since. We've put out a bunch of music together. But yeah, Scythe is the man. He really helped that project come to life, and really, yeah, the dude is a rock. He's a solid rock.
Dope. Yeah, thanks. I didn't realize that that you guys had that album until I was looking at Spotify just before this interview, and I was like, entire album with Scythe. Okay, all right. So that's where this guy came from. I see.
Yeah. Honestly, it doesn't feel like that long ago, but yeah, it's, I guess, 12 years ago now.
Yeah, weird. So you had that album with Scythe entirely producing it. I think, what was it, 2013 or 14? You had one with Metawan doing all the beats.
Yep.
2020s. Yeah. You had a couple there that you mentioned earlier that are escaping my mind right now, but they were entirely produced by one guy.
Yeah.
Do you always try to go for that one MC, one producer feel, like for the cohesion of that?
Every single time.
Dope.
Yeah, and the cohesion is the main reason of it. I just, if you're getting beats from all these different producers and then you're trying to craft something with some sort of cohesion, it's going to be a lot more difficult. And on top of that, it's not going to be an intimate experience with the producer, and vice versa. Right. So whenever I craft an album, it's always my go-to to do it with one person and kind of have a cohesive soundscape, and then I put my cohesive, words on top of it.
Hell yeah.
That's the most time I've ever said cohesive in a sentence.
I think I've said it too many times this interview too, honestly. As it came out of my mouth, I was like, I got to figure out another word for that.
Where's my thesaurus?
Yeah, right. We're supposed to be rappers here. But so I asked on Instagram, and this is kind of a joke, but Thomas from Handsolo had a question for you. He said, how come you didn't name yourself AzraelRapsGood? Because we all know that you do, man. So,
it's too cocky. Cocky.
Word. But yeah, dude, thanks for coming through. I got a lot of information out of you there. If there's anything else you wanted to shout out or say, feel free. But I won't keep you any longer than that. I think, great interview, man. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me on, Doobyis. I appreciate it. Thank you for checking out the album and playing it. I appreciate the fuck out of that.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, dope conversation, man. It's dope to chat with you and dope to get to know you better.
Yeah, man. If you are booking that Western Canada tour, get at me if you're coming through Lethbridge. I'll at least be able to help you promote it and come through so we can shake hands then. But yeah, dude.
Sick.
All right. It was good to talk to you. Take it easy, man.
Thanks, you too, man. Peace.
All right. So that was that. Thanks for coming through. Thomas, shouts to you for, putting this whole thing together and making it happen. Let me know as more Handsolo artists need to do interviews for their new albums coming out, and we will make that happen. But thanks for everybody for listening, and yeah, make sure you check out After the Smoke is Clear. It's my mix show, and you can find that archived over at mixcloud.com/Doobyis. That's an award that I won for the second season for the best rap program in the country from the NCRA. I'm up for nomination for season 3 and 10 episodes into season 4 as of Monday. So yeah, this interview will go on to the end of season 4, episode 11, I believe it'll be, and I think I'll get that ready for Thursday, probably. It might be Monday. It might be next Monday. But one way or the other, I have a couple more interviews booked. Next week on Tuesday, it'll be an afternoon interview. I'm talking to OP Yeti. He's a Victoria-based artist who's got a new project coming up. I play him and his whole camp, OZ and Brainiac and all those guys out there in Victoria. I play them all the time on ATSIC, so looking forward to talking to him. And then the week after that, I'm really excited to talk to Gritfall, who's a Toronto-based rapper. Dude is 17 years old, and he's signed to Raz Fresco's Baker's Club label. Been making a lot of noise, and he's got an album coming up at the end of the month. Make sure you check out AzraelRapsGood and the Dirty Samples album content when it drops April 21st. And yeah, appreciate y'all.